Hello YouTube, it's Trust, and today we have a very special guest on the Bear Hug Radio. Erick, the project and community manager at PopHeads. I invited Erick on the podcast because I'm a big fan of the project. The art is amazing and more people need to know about it. In this interview, I grill Erick on the tough questions. We talk about the utility, we talk about why it's such a big collection, and what are the plans if it doesn't mint out. Because we know it's a bear market out there. Times are tough. Erick was generous enough to give 3 whitelists away for the PopHeads Mint. All you have to do to enter the giveaway is subscribe to my channel, hit the like button, follow the PopHeads Twitter page, and write in the comment sections PopHeads whitelist. Links are in the description. Before we start the video, I would like to remind you that this is not financial advice. I'm just a dude interviewing cool people. I just wanted to start by saying I'm really happy to have the opportunity to talk to you today. For those of you out there, it's not a paid promotion. I've just invited Erick to the podcast because I'm a big fan of the project and I wanted people to know about it.
Yeah, thank you for having me. Super excited to be here as well, and thank you for having me, Phil.
The pleasure's all mine. So let's talk about you. Do you prefer Erick, Ghostwriter, or what do your friends call you?
I just go by Erick now. Originally I joined Solana, so technically Ghostwriter is my old. My real account is a Degen Mint, but I don't want to go there. So when I joined, I wanted to the account name Ghostwriter, but what I realized is in Solana there's a lot of ghosts. Probably influenced by how many, the provenance of Googles or whatever. But there's a lot of ghosts in this space, so I decided just to use my actual first name going forward. Just Erick.
Yeah, similar to me, Trust and Phil. So some people just call me Phil, some call me Trust. So whatever you want is fine. What was your background before PopHeads?
Yeah, we should probably give some context. So I'm kind of the community manager and comms for the project PopHeads. I'm not technically the original founder. I do want to, I guess, give a little bit of context in that PopHeads is an artist-led project. I'm kind of helping out with a lot of the glue, a lot of the stuff that operational stuff that the artists would prefer not to do. I want to give a shout out to Daniel, who originally created PopHeads as one of one art, and then Joyce and Tony, who have been amazing to work with as well. Honestly, the collection's almost done, we're super excited to show everybody the art for it. Just to circle back, and then Ja Chang, our developer as well, who's helping with the generation right now.
Yeah, so what was your background before? What led you to be a community manager, and what led you to do all these amazing things?
Yeah, funny enough, my background is technically software engineering. So at my actual day job, I do software engineering. When I got into crypto was around 2017. I go over this in the podcast a little bit. So, I've been recording a couple podcasts as well, PopHeads, but in it, I talked about back in 2017, I was working at Accenture as a software consultant, and I wanted to get into kind of crypto because I saw that was booming at the time. And I had actually quit my job because I was hoping to work at Consensus, who originally created MetaMask and some of the main kind of ETH stuff, Gnosis, stuff like that. And I took their kind of developer program, so I was doing a little bit of Solidity, smart contract programming at the time. But that's when the bear market hit, so they froze hiring. Honestly, 90, I'm gonna say 90+% of all of the Consensus startups went away during that bear market. And so obviously I didn't get hired, so I ended up working in TradFi instead. But yeah, that's my background. I got back into NFTs. I want to say October of last year, so 2021. I think that was around the time DGBs. So a little bit after that for Solana. I just kept hearing about this new blockchain, Solana, how it was faster and stuff. And technically before that, I was an ETH maxi, I'll be honest with you. But I kept my mind open. I tested it out, and it was actually the user experience that I had always wanted. It didn't cost a lot of money to do transactions, and the speed was really good. So that got me hooked into delving a little bit more into Solana. And I spent about 3 months on the Degen side before deciding to go into the more creative and one-of-one art side.
So I want to talk about PopHeads, especially. So influencers got me to the project. They got me curious. So that's how I found out about it. The art is what kind of drew me in. And what kept me here was the Korean influence, having lived in Korea for about 4 years. So something I really liked also was the podcast, was something that I could really relate to, seeing as I do my own podcast. But it was kind of cool getting to know you on a personal level. Also, the community is really, really cool. I like the PopHeads. We'll talk about that a bit later. But I'm really interested in this project. That's why I'm gonna grind you with some tough questions.
Sure.
So whatever you feel, don't be pressured to feel the need to answer any of the questions that you can't or that you don't want to.
Yeah, honestly, I think I can answer any question that you're gonna throw at me. I think the team has been having meetings internally to talk about what we're willing to talk about in terms of roadmap and what we're okay with promising. Obviously the core team is obviously the 3 artists, so they're a little bit scared of saying anything, but I think I'm ready to discuss anything you would like to.
All right. Okay. Perfect. So the first question is, what utility are you gonna get from holding a PopHead? Like, what are the holders gonna get from holding 1 or 2 or 3? Can you discuss about that?
Yeah, let's talk about that. So there aren't any kind of quantity-based utility. If that was kind of the first leading up to that, maybe there might be vanity rolls. But again, there's no utility based on quantity per se. When we first started the project, it was obviously during the bear market. I think OK Bears minted, and then a few other brand meta projects, and then the market just tanked after that. Obviously, everybody was demanding 2 things. The first was utility, and the second was free mint. But yeah, with regards to utility, I think, to be honest with you, just straight up, the artists wanted it to be art only. I had conversations with them that might not be enough, given the state of the market. And so I had kind of come up with this whole NAV paper. I don't know if you were there early on. I released kind of this NAV concept, and that would be the utility. We have had a little bit of discussions with regards to that. I think the market and the overall sentiment is good enough where the base NFT itself can be art only. That being said, I did want to kind of still explore that extra NAV utility. NAV is basically the NFT itself has a fundamental value based on staked SOL. So there may be subsequent NFTs that have that kind of utility. The goal of that is to provide a very user-friendly, normie-friendly interface to do DeFi, which is what I wanted to do with NAV, this NAV concept. So just fundamentally, to answer your question, technically the PopHeads NFT is art only. The NAV concept that I had thrown out there as going to be the utility of PopHeads, we are transitioning that to a separate NFT that may be coming out later. It's not like some Gen 2 drop or anything like that. We're still working out whether or not people would even want it and what it would look like. But yeah, I have a couple things on the back end that I'm working. But essentially, there's going to be a separate NFT from PopHeads that will have kind of DeFi utility. But the actual PopHeads NFT itself is only.
Okay, so basically, if you hold it, you might get the second part or something like that in the future. But for now, it's only an art NFT. All right.
Art branding, storytelling, all that jazz. That is what the artists are comfortable with putting out there.
All right. Cool. So, I mean, like you described, it's no surprise the market is not favorable right now for new projects. Do you have a plan if the project doesn't mint out?
Yeah, so I discussed this in a spaces with Nocturne and Light, who runs Solana Paint Inc. But I mean, we were just gonna leave the candy machine open. We'll slow mint. I don't care. I will mint a couple every week, so let's mint it out. Yeah, genuinely, that's the plan. I guess it depends how many are minted out. If it's like really close to a number that and enough minted, maybe we cut supply. But I mean, our original plan was, there's gonna be 10K. If it doesn't mint out on day one right away, then we'll just leave it open. Slow mint. I know slow mints are bearish, but it is what it is.
Yeah. No. Why 10K though? Where did you get that number from, and why do you think it needs that much?
I don't know if you remember, but like back, I forget exactly when, there was a meta of having very small exclusive collection sizes. I think that was during the time of like Mindfolk, Boryuku Dragons, a couple other NFT projects, and what we ended up and originally I think people thought that was going to be the standard and the meta going forward, kind of small exclusive collections. But what we found out was, after a couple other projects minted that were higher collection size, we found that the smaller exclusive collection sizes did not bode well for community creation overall, specifically because there wasn't enough holders, and some of the holders, obviously there's going to be whales in every community, and they're going to hold a large supply. So yeah, I mean, a smaller collection size doesn't necessarily bode well for a larger community if you're trying to get brand notoriety, which PopHeads is trying to do. That being said, it didn't have to be 10K. Obviously, there's some number out there. I don't know the exact number. That can be between 0 and 10,000. That would be enough for a large community. Maybe it's 5,000, maybe it's 7. But yeah, I think it's actually the artist this time, that wanted to be ambitious, and go for that full 10K number.
I think OK Bears are the ones that really showed it, the power of the NFT and the Twitter right after mint, and how everyone just switched up their profile picture, and then it created like a insane, FOMO, where everyone tried to like FOMO in and stuff like that. And that, I guess that's what you guys are trying to create, and I totally agree. Even Frank Degas agreed. He's like, man, we got to be bigger, and that's where kind of Utes became an even bigger collection to onboard more. Yeah, I think it's 15K. So that's why he's kind of like, big collections are the new meta. It's just that the problem is minting out. You know what I mean? If you have a big collection, and some people might see it as a failure if you don't mint out and stuff, and it's really hard to onboard that many people too. So that's
and there's definitely a lot of overlap between the communities that you're kind of trying to attract. I think there's been some discussions like, a lot of the communities already have their forever PFPs, and you're just, your project won't or like make people switch. But I don't think that's true. I think people are still looking for. There are plenty of people still looking for, their digital identity and brand that they F with. So yeah, you're right. A 10K collection is harder to mint out, but it doesn't have to be a full 10K. I think unique holders is a metric that I view. That being said, it's not the be all end all. It's more of a long-term goal.
The more people that are in the project, the more noise it can make, and the more influence you have in the space and stuff like that. That's why it's always been like, the bears have been loudest, on NFT Inspect. They've been really high up there. up with the ETH projects and stuff like that. So
Yeah, I think
it really does help.
NFT Inspect, was it Azuki that was number one? I mean, in terms of unique PFPs, I think Azuki was number one, and people do not like switching once they use rep a Azuki PFP. But yeah, I mean, OK Bears was definitely one of the first Solana NFTs that competed at that level for sure. If we're talking about NFT Inspect metrics.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. But yeah, so slowly but surely it's been changing a bit, but we've still been up to top 5 definitely. Honestly, I've watched the podcast episodes a few times, and especially on episode 5, you preface by saying it's a boring podcast, but truthfully, it's one of my favorite ones, because it opened my eyes to like specific projects like OK Bears that keep information very private and don't openly talk about adding value to the holders, you know. And like, I watched that, I listened to that episode at least 3-4 times, and I really like it because it kind of like opened my eyes. I didn't know specific things like that about the securities and stuff like that, so I thought it was really cool.
Yeah, that was so specifically I recorded after I talked with some lawyers with whether or not we could do what we wanted to do.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, honestly, it was one of my favorite ones because it kind of like opened my eyes to the back end of NFTs and why people don't ask too many questions. Like, a lot of people want to know, like, how am I going to get rewarded as a holder, you know? But yeah, I'm not going to ask any questions about adding value to the holders. But if anyone wants to know, I mean, you have to watch that episode. But what are your plans on adding value to the project in the short and long term? To the project and not the holders, right?
Sorry, I just want to make one side comment before I answer that question, which was, I mean, in regards to regulatory, I think OK Bears was smart in their was it that gold, that NFT backed with gold? If you think about it, it's like, it's kind of weird. Like, why wouldn't it be Bitcoin? But I mean, gold is a commodity. So you could argue that it's not a security because it's backed by the value of the commodity. So I thought that was pretty smart. I don't think a lot of people talk about that specifically. But yeah. So sorry. With regards to bringing value to the project, yeah, I wanted to talk about it in two ways. How I'm thinking about it and how I discussed it with the team. I think every project has two types of building. The first type of building is centralized building. And this is where it's the core team building out whether it's new utility, new art, whatever it is. That's kind of centralized building, and it takes a long time, and it's what holders expect. And for that end, it's going to be kind of Daniel, Jia Chang, and some of the artists to bring the PopHeads brand forward. And Daniel wants to, I mean, he hasn't really talked about this, but he really wants to go into K-pop. He's sad, he's kind of shy to talk about it, but that's what he wants to do is to bring the brand forward within obviously K-pop, and a couple other things. So there's centralized building, which is what the holders demand, obviously, and that's kind of why they complain. Is the centralized building takes a long time. It's usually in the dark. And so obviously half of the building is going to be centralized building. That's going to be Daniel trying to push the brand forward, especially as it relates to music and a couple other things like toys and stuff. And then there's decentralized building, which is what the community is creating. That is post mint. That's what I'm going to be focusing on. So I mean, we haven't talked about PopHeads Lore a lot, but essentially, it's the project ethos is you are young, you are youthful. If you see the NFTs, they're actually kids wearing these helmets and stuff. And the whole point of it is to inspire you to do what, in Daniel's words, do whatever the fuck you want.
Okay.
And just explore your passions and stuff like that. So these kids go to an academy, a Sky Academy. I don't know. So you've been to South Korea, right? Do you know the Sky universities?
Yeah.
Seoul University.
Seoul.
It's kind of a nod to that. But yeah, Sky Academy is a place where they can explore. It's kind of like the Big Hero 6 school in that movie, in that Pixar movie, where they build all this cool shit. And that's the decentralized building is going to take place. I'm going to be focused on kind of building subgroups within Sky Academy. People who obviously have an NFT are part of Sky Academy, and we're going to build out a bunch of clubs to essentially one of my main goals, and one of the goals of the project is to bring in more normies and be normie friendly, actually. So yeah, we're going to build things that don't look like your normal kind of NFT native UX, if that makes sense. So with regards to Nav, and I was talking about having a separate NFT that will simplify DeFi, for example. I mean, I'll release more details on it later, but yeah, it'll be building things that onboard more normies. I'm not gonna meme and say bridging Web 2 and Web 3. That's definitely not it when you say that. But yeah, we're gonna be making kind of NFTs and experiences that I think are more friendly to people who don't want to be as technically savvy, or even like as crypto native. So yeah, so there's gonna be centralized building and decentralized building. So I think every project post-mint needs to have a plan for both.
Yeah, definitely. But how do you plan on keeping the holders' attention on the project? Because we know that Solana investors have like very short attention span.
I think
what do you plan on doing?
Battle, to be honest with you, not even Frank and D-Gods can keep people's attention for longer than 2 weeks. I mean, they did with Utes. When you do novel and new things, you captivate crypto Twitter and the Solana ecosystem, but eventually, in a week or two, they will move on. So I'm not necessarily too bothered about trying to keep people's attention per se. That being said, I know attention equals money, right? Gary Vaynerchuk.
Exactly.
Attention is money.
Twitter.
But I think there's a few projects that I truly admire and that they just keep building. Like one of them is Foxes. Like they don't necessarily have Famous Fox Federation. They don't necessarily have the attention of Solana NFTs in general, but their holders are so rabid and loyal that is what I would hope to create, rather than people's attention for 2 weeks intensely, and then they go away. And I think truly it's a losing battle. People's attentions are going to be split, and I think it's more important to create that core community that are your ride or die. So that's that's where I would like to spend my attention more. But yeah, I mean, there's going to be, I think if you are a project that is only focused on centralized building, where it's the core team and they have to spend a long time working on something, you will lose people's attention. The floor price will go down and people will FUD. But if you have a strategy for decentralized building as well, and building up the community and rewarding community members, which we will do, I think we can at least keep the attention of the people that we want to keep the attention of. I don't need to. I think at the beginning I was I was very focused on trying to get everybody in. That I failed to recognize what the core community could be, if that makes sense. So like at the beginning when I set up the Discord, it was just like, here's a crypto NFT channel. I mean, we still have that, but like we didn't have a K-pop channel, for example. When a bunch of our core community members actually do listen to K-pop. So yeah, things like that, like slowly switching the Discord and the Twitter to grow organically around the community that's building, I think will help build that core loyal following. I mean, that's why PopHeads even came to be, right?
Yeah, exactly. All right. So what do you plan on doing with the mint funds? I mean, do you plan on being transparent with holders? Are you gonna map it out, or is that something you guys are gonna keep to yourselves?
Kind of hard to map it out. A majority of it, I'm not gonna give specifics, but a majority of it will go to the artists themselves. I think that is, if I didn't say that, the artist would kill me. But yeah, a majority will go to the artists. We're setting up a contract, like legal contract, so that they get their fair share of all the work that they're going to do. That the money that they get from mint funds will be, I mean, essentially these artists want to go independent and create their own independent creative studios. So it's in a way seeding 3 independent art studios. So that's the first thing. Obviously one of them would be Daniel and his push towards PopHeads brand. Tony and Joyce, I mean, PopHead, they didn't necessarily create the original PopHeads. They are still in kind of an exploratory mode of what they want to do post mint in terms of creating that independent art studio for themselves. They technically still work. Daniel's full-time, but like Joyce still works at Oddfellows, and Tony's a freelancer. So yeah, I mean, if it can make them go independent, then they will create more. So yeah, I mean, that's the first thing is the money will go to fund those artists' ambitions. And then from my end, a large majority of my funds is going to be reinvested into what I mentioned before, decentralized building. Yep. My goal is that Sky Academy. I think in crypto you can't have a set roadmap. Actually, nobody knows what works, and everybody copies what ends up working. And I think a lot of experiments need to happen for innovation to happen. And so that's what I'm going to be focused on. How should I lay it out? Yeah, Sky Academy is going to be obviously, I can't even call it a DAO, but it's a place where the holders will group up together. And my hope is, I still trying to work out the framework, is people will be able to propose clubs within the Sky Academy for any interests that they want, and that there's going to be a decentralized building fund which can fund some of the clubs. So for example, we have a book club right now. It's about 15 to 20 people in the book club. We actually do meet weekly in PopHeads to talk about books that we read.
Okay.
But yeah, I'm hoping that there's going to be a lot of these different clubs, and we can fund some of the initiatives that creative people have that maybe they didn't think about. So for example, books, right? That is a category of NFT that hasn't flourished, if at all. But I think there's some things we can do there. I have some ideas, and so there'll be leaders within these clubs. We can help fund some of that. So yeah, it's kind of an open-ended fund to help fuel kind of experiments through these clubs. And then yeah, I'll give more information on that separate NFT that makes DeFi easier. So that's going to be another portion of funds. And then yeah, honestly, with the price of Sol where it's at, I don't think it's even good to sell it and swap it to USDC, even if it drops 50% more. I think it's best just to keep it staked and then sell off once it goes back to 100 at some point, hopefully. So yeah, a lot of it will just, to be honest with you, post mint, a lot of it will just be kept in treasury, staked, until we hit. I mean, think about it, right? If Sol stays at 30 by the time we mint, and we're just waiting until it's 100 to even sell, portions of the treasury, then I mean that's it essentially would triple your treasury just from waiting. Obviously, we don't know how long the bear market will be, but yeah, a lot of it is, to be honest with you, is just going to be staked, and we're just going to sit on it.
Right.
So yeah, I mean that was a very long-winded answer, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean it answered my question. I was just curious because there's all these different projects, utility projects and DAO projects, and I guess this is an art project where the most of the mint's funds are going to go to the artist, and they're separate ventures, and that's okay. People need to know, I guess, kind of what they're getting themselves into, that they're getting a beautiful piece of art, and
no, yeah,
that's what
I guess the way to think about it is a large portion will obviously go to the artists or centralized building, where they are obviously it's going to tie back to trying to bring value to the holders, and push the PopHeads brand forward, and maybe even create a few sub brands. I honestly think that, I mean, it's kind of a meme that people say that the next Disney is going to come from Web3. I don't think that's true. I'm a little bit contrarian. I'm kind of a Disney buff, Disney fan. I went to D23 Expo a couple weeks back, and what I realized was Disney is, I mean, they're masters of centralized building, because they have scale, they have money, and they are able to plan in years, like generationally. I saw some of the plans they had for the parks, for example. And it is generational plans. Like they're planning it for this generation that has grown up with certain IPs, and then their kids that will grow up with that, and then the next rotation, like 20, 30 plus years after that would be the next set of IPs. So I mean, they get to think in terms of generations, and crypto can't think past 2 weeks. So I don't think it's going to be, there will be a next Disney. What I instead think is the next Disney will look very different, and it will be in the decentralized building section. So I think the best that can come out of centralized building will be obviously well-funded projects that may get acquired by kind of legacy IP holders, like Disney, but the true kind of next decentralized IP may come out of decentralized communities that are building the story, the lore. I mean, I don't know what it looks like. Maybe the closest thing might be Nouns DAO in ETH, and whatever TC0 experiments are coming out from that. But yeah, I think there needs to be, or I guess for a project to become the next Disney and push Web3 and their own brand forward, there needs to be a combination of centralized building and decentralized building. And so post-mint, the artists are going to be focused on centralized building and building the PopHeads brand and a few other IPs. And then I hope to support all of that with kind of the decentralized building experiments that are going to come out of Sky Academy.
All right, cool. I like those ideas. Can you talk about, I mean, probably the artist would be better to answer this, but can you tell me why is it only a head? Like, what was your idea behind this?
Yeah,
and
Daniel just drew the head like while he was working at Netflix, as kind of a doodle. There is a full body. They're not corporeal floating heads. I think part of the plan is to post-mint actually have full bodies of you.
Okay. Actually, my next question was kind of as a joke, but like, is there going to be a secondary collection of a body or future airdrop for the body? And
I think so. Yeah, I don't know what it'll be, whether it's airdrop. I don't think it's a Gen 2 mint or anything like that. It might just be an airdrop or something, but or just enhanced art. But yeah, Daniel does want to create full bodies post mint.
Okay, because honestly, I thought it was gonna be
Yeah, some of the promotional art that we haven't released yet does feature the full bodies.
Okay. No, I was just wondering because I thought it was just more like you can add more detail or something, and you can make it bigger. I guess because like if you look at all the like big companies, you know, like Bored Ape and stuff like that, their logo is very simple. It's just like a skeleton of an ape, you know, and like so it's very simple but very kind of like it stands out. And I thought that just having the head is actually pretty interesting. But yeah, I would definitely like to know what like the other part of the body looks like.
Yeah, I mean the head was just a starting point. Since I mean as a PFP, I think you have to have the head centrally there. I don't know. It was Daniel who made that. You're right. You're probably it's better to ask Daniel about that.
Can we talk about the poop heads? I mean, some other people that don't know or are not in the Discord probably don't know about it, but I mean, you can't deny the power of the meme, okay? And it shouldn't be denied. Do you guys plan on making like the poop heads anywhere near the project, or is it just like for fun?
But at this point, poop heads is its own brand. I'm not gonna lie you. It has grown into something that was bigger than what it originally was. And I kind of let it organically grow rather than try to rein it in. To give context, PopHeads is a role in the Discord, and you see some people repping these kind of scuffed, but somewhat charming, like black and white line drawings. And so where they came from was 'cause the artists Daniel and Joyce, they were having some creative blocks, and they just drew these little meme heads for fun, just to relieve some mental stress. And what ended up happening was they actually kind of looked fun. And so Joyce would do these art streams and draw these little poopy PFPs for people, and it ended up becoming a cult. Because Joyce has really strong cult leader energy, is what we call it. And yeah, so with regards to where it is in the project, yeah, I mean it's its own project. It's not an NFT. It's a non-FT. I call it a non-FT because it's not on the chain, and it's a poop FP. But yeah, it's just a fun little meme that we have. Honestly, I think we could keep it and keep it going. I think if anything, it may be the free sister collection that people can use if they can't afford. Hopefully, obviously, we want the NFT value to go up. But there does become this risk group, a scenario where it becomes too expensive for people to even buy it. And NFTs in a way are a luxury item. At least the premier ones. But you do stifle the opportunity for new entrants to come in, and possibly PopHeads might be that. It might just be this kind of free random collection that allows people to join the community without any strings attached, basically. I think that's how I'm kind of pushing it at this point. But funny enough, right now PopHeads is the core community. We'll see. Honestly, we'll see where it goes from there after Mint.
Yeah, I guess I have to talk to Joyce about it. I mean, she's the one creating them, and I think there could be something there, to be honest. Like, half joking, kind of, like, I think this could be like a thing, you know, where people are rocking poop heads.
Yeah, we keep joking that it should be a Degen Mint, and everybody says yes.
Honestly, man, I think like after PopHeads gets out, I think it would be pretty funny, and to know that people would actually rock it. I mean, look at the MFers, you know, on the east side, you know, and the goblins and stuff like that, man. Like, you can't deny the power of the meme, man. I think honestly it would do good, but I guess we'll see. A Degen Mint in the future, who knows?
It's a art downgrade.
Yeah, exactly.
Upgrade.
Yeah, I mean, it could be pretty funny to have the two collections side by side and be like, you know, like, oh, we're better, no, we're better, and stuff like that. I think it would be funny.
That's the funny thing. It contrasts so much. Sometimes I meme when people first show up into the Discord and they're like, "Oh, the art's cool." Sometimes I'll meme and just drop a bunch of poop heads on them. Like, look at our art. just it's so contrasting between the high level, like high effort, that the art team is actually making for the actual PopHeads art, and then this little poopy PFP that you're happy enough to rep and you want to kind of push forward. So yeah, it's really interesting in that way. Thinking about it now, just having this conversation, it's almost like is the centralized building, and then PopHeads was this grassroots, community-based, decentralized non-FT that came out of just randomness.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's what everything's about, man. Just like creating things out of air, you know. Like, I honestly thought it would be a cool idea to give it like to the OG poop heads and stuff as like an airdrop, or even like it could have been a mint token, like. But I mean, that's going too far, I guess. But I had all these funny ideas about it.
I think it's definitely part of PopHeads history now, and we will include it in a bunch of small little Easter eggs and stuff for sure.
And then Joyce is just banging them out as she's doing the other art, and it's just cool to pop in the VC and just talk to people. The community is really cool. So if people out there are looking for a community that's really cool, I mean, yeah. So I'm gonna end the recording here, but I want to say thank you for giving me your time.
Yeah, thank you for having me. That was a really fun discussion.
Thank you for watching the Bear Hug Radio. This is the end of the episode, and I hope you liked it. Please hit the like and subscribe button. It really helps my channel grow.